Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video will be on this video. I want to apologize for for the late upload of this video. A lot of factors affected it, and without wasting so much time, let's get straight into the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do wait to hit on the subscribe button, join the family. And for this style, I'll be using 1 yard of fabric, 1 yard of lining, my scissors, my tape rule, and my chalk, and every other thing that we will be needing. So for the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark on my lining, so that if there's any mistake I can easily replace it, but not for my main fabric. So I just straighten off the beginning of the fabric, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark 1/2 inch, because I want to use this 1/2 inch. I want this 1/2 inch to serve as our shoulder measurement, our shoulder allowance, stitching allowance, sorry. So from that first line, from the second line that I just marked, I'm going to go ahead and take the full length of this gown. So for the full length of this gown, this style is for a 2 to 3 year old. So for the full length is 22 inches. That's the length is below the knee. So please make sure you measure your child so that you'll be sure of what you are doing. So it's going to be 22 inches, but I want to take out 5 inches for the design, for the pleating and below it. Then I'm going to add 1/2 inch to this place, to the lower side, to join the plating. I hope you understand this. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this line straight. So the only allowance I added is just 1/2 inch. The other 1/2 inch will be added to the shoulder area. So what I folded here is my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch stitching allowance plus 3 extra 3 inches, because it's an A-line gown. So for my next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus 1/2 inch for stitching allowance. And once I am done with that, I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust point, and this is also my shoulder measurement divided by 2, but for me I usually add 1/2 inch so that it's not too fitted at the area. Sometimes I add up to 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and connect all these lines, all these points that I just marked. Once I am done with that, then I'm going to go ahead and mark my neckline. For my neckline, I am going in by 2 inches for the width, and then 2.5 inches for the depth. And as you already know, is a round neckline, so I'll go ahead and make a curve for a round neckline. Once I am done with this, I'm going to go down by 0.25 for my shoulder slope, and I will connect it into my neckline. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to go up by remember that 1/2 inch we added for our shoulder measurement, for our shoulder allowance. So that's what I'm doing, so that when I want to cut it out I don't forget. So I added my stitching allowance at the shoulder area. So for my bust point, I'm going to go ahead and divide my bust into 4, and then I'll add 1 inch stitching allowance. Then I'll go ahead and connect my armhole curve. I'm just trying to find a perfect curve for it, because this armhole is quite small. Once I am done with that, I'm going to go ahead and measure whatever I have on that bust area. I'll transfer it to the hem, and then I'll add extra 3 inches to it. Then I'll go ahead and connect this with a straight line, a stranded line. So I use the same pattern to cut out my back bodice. As you can see, I added my stitching allowance for my zipper, and then my neckline is about 1 inch. And then I went ahead to cut out my lining pieces for the back and then the front bodice. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to pick up my fabric. I'm just marking out on the wrong side so that I don't mix up the right to the right with the front, with the wrong. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to do front facing front, and then I'll stitch on my shoulder line. on the two shoulder by 1/2 inch, and I'll do the same thing for the back. If you haven't subscribed up to this moment, please take 1 minute to hit on the subscribe button and join the family. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, share my videos to family and friends, and please wash my ass. Thank you very much. So this is what we have after we are done. I'll bring in the lining and the main fabric, and at this point I'll do front facing front. I'll go ahead and pin down my two shoulder line, making sure that the two shoulders matches each other, and then I'll stitch down. I'm not stitching down my zipper allowance. I'll leave my zipper allowance open, and then I'll stitch all the way through and then stitch on my two armhole. So guys, this is what we have after we are done. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to make notches around the armhole and also the neckline. And then once I am done with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the right side. And the fabric I'm using here is a crepe fabric for the main fabric, and then a cotton lining for my lining. So this is what we have after we are done turning it to the right side. If you have means of ironing, please do wet iron at this point. So I'll do front facing front, and then I'll go ahead and open it up. At this point you can see that the two fabric, the one I'm holding up is my two main fabric, and the one under is my lining. You can see the way I turn this. So you're going to go ahead and pin down on my armhole line. Once I am done with that, I'll go ahead and stitch from beginning to the end of what I have. So what I'm doing is just an inseam finishing. If you don't want inseam finishing, just do front facing front and then stitch and then serge yours afterwards. So this is what we have after we are done. I'll just turn it and you can see what we have. The outside is neat, the inside is neat. So you can go ahead and serge the inside if you want to, or you can just leave it that way. So this is what we have after I was done. I'm going to go ahead and work on the zipper. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to pick up our lining, and then we'll do front facing front with just the lining. I'll stitch down by 5 inches, and then I'll pick up my main fabric and also do front facing front on the fabric. I'll do stitch down by 1/2 inches. So I stitched the lining separate and the main fabric separate. So this is what we have, and I'll bring in my zipper. So for the zipper, I'll first of all stitch it on my main fabric. At this point we are doing front facing front. I'll stitch it down all the way from the beginning to the end. So let's assume that I've stitched this down. So I'll just pin it down and stitch it down. So once I am done with this, I'm going to go ahead and open my zipper open. So you're going to be opening this up once you are done stitching it down, not before stitching it down. So once I open it up, I'll bring in my lining, I'll close it up this way, and then I'll stitch all the way from the neckline. Remember the stitching allowance coming from the neckline, and then I'll stitch it down to the end. I hope you understand this. So this is what we have after we are done. You can see the zipper allowance is looking very neat and well put together. And then the hem area, I also stitch it all around so that it will be kept in place. So this is the fabric we'll be using for our plating, and I tripled the measurement of the lower part. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to hem this all the way from the beginning to the end. And once I am done with this, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric into two and make notch at the center. The zipper allowance I've already give away this center back, so I'm just making a notch at the center front. Once I am done, I'll bring in the other fabric we are going to be using for the plate, and then I'll place it front facing front, and then I'll pin it down. Once I pin this down, we're going to go ahead and create our plates. You can see the way I am creating my plates. So what we are going to be having is one plate on both sides of the front, and then one on both center, then one on both sides, and then two at the front, one on both sides, and then two at the back. I hope you understand. So I'm going to go ahead and create my plates. You can see the way I pushed it in. So after creating your plate, when you turn it to the right side, you will see that it's a kissing plate at the right side. So I'm folding in this way. So we are folding like to face each other from the inside. I hope you understand this. I don't know how to explain it any further. Just look at the video, you understand it. So when you look at it, you can see that both of them are facing each other. So I'll pin it down, and my plating is about 2 inches inside it. So you just work with how much fabric you have. So once I see what I'm talking about, see both of them are facing each other by the time you turn it to the right side. So I'll do the same thing for the other side. For those that didn't see the first one well, you can see the way I folded it inward, and then I'll pin it down. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold in from the other side so that the two fabric inside are facing each other. And please, while plating, make sure that you have a uniform size of each plate so that your work will look well put together and neat. So once I am done with that, I also pin it down, and then I'll repeat the same process for the both sides of the gown and then the two center of the back, before going to my sewing machine to stitch down all what we have here. So guys, this is it after I was done pinning it down. So before I stitch it down, at the center back, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the excess that I have here. Once I cut it out, I'm going to go ahead and place it together and stitch it down at that zipper allowance area. So this is what we have after we are done. You can see it's coming together. You can see our plates. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to work on the bow we are going to be attaching to this gown. For this, I have these 6 pieces of fabrics. The length of it is, I have about 11 inches, and then the width of it I have about 7 inches. So I'll fold it into 2, and then I'll stitch down on every side, and then leave a small opening to turn it to the right side. Once I am done, I'll gather the center, and then our bow is ready. So we're going to go ahead and attach this to our fabric, and I'll be using a gun glue whichever you guys call it, to attach this to this fabric. So remember we have 6 pieces of it, so I'll attach 2 at the front, 2 by the 2 sides, and then the last 2 at the back. And that's basically all for this style. I hope you find value and you enjoy this video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, share my videos to family and friends, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Please watch my ads, and then I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.